hence they might get into a divorce, but they don't know how to respond, or so on and so forth. I would say for them, when that happens, that's why it's so important to marry a woman of deen, because she will pick on you, one way or the other. That's female. But if she has deen, she'll pick on you for deen-related stuff. Hence, the person not praying Fajr, why don't you pray Fajr in the masjid? Right? And you get nagged about that, oh, what kind of husband I married? Just decent, doesn't pray, and so on and so forth. You will get the nag. But the good thing is, if you marry a person with deen, they'll do it for deen stuff. Number 4, that the test of life ends when you get married, i.e. the happily ever after. And sisters, this is a big one with the sisters as well. Happily ever after, i.e. get married and you'll never have problems after that. Which is not true. You just move on to a new chapter of problems. You go into the marriage problems chapter, and if you solve the marriage problem chapter, then you got the kids, that you got issues with the kids. What school you put them into, the bad friends that they have, and so on and so forth. They get into their teens. Let's suppose you got your kids married after all those years. Now you're back into the retirement with your husband or wife stage. The issues that happen in those days. At every time you're going to be tested, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this life for a test. So if it snows, go snowboard. Another myth that men have is, if they get married, then freedom is lost. Freedom is lost. And actually, it might be a reality. It might be a reality. If you marry someone who doesn't have the same values as you do, right, doesn't care about the same things that you do, hence you're like, oh, let's go for Umrah. They're like, why would we go for Umrah? Why would we go to Mecca this summer? Like, I'm fine here. I like watching, summer cartoons or something. If they have different, hence you get a wife that wants to go for Hajj. Husband's like, oh, it's too crowded. And doesn't want to go. And then you get this mismatch. Obviously the freedom isn't lost. If you marry someone with the same values, then you'd be like going together. So husband and wife, they're like, they both want their kids to learn Quran. Let's go to Mecca for the summer and teach our kids Quran with like a Quran tutor. Husband and wife are both like, let's do it. That's freedom within the marriage. Anyways, I was going to explain some stuff about how to be happily married, but that's not what we're talking about. Another myth that men have is number 2, and then we're going to number 1. Number 1, very soon. Number 2 myth is that you will find someone totally different than yourself. Hence, if the brother is like a jerk and just totally sucks, expecting that his wife is going to be like, female companion of the Prophet that he's married to. And there's actually another reality to that is a lot of times when sisters get messed up with some husband, and they're like really the guy's a jerk and stuff like that, like attracts like. Hence, it's not an angel married to a devil, angels and demons. That's not how it works. It's usually half demon marries half demon. They both got demon blood going through them, right? Like attracts like. And you, subhanAllah, and very often when talking to people, you look to the person on your right and your left, you look at the people that you gather around, they're very similar to you. Look in a masjid, who's on the board of directors? They're all like, they're clones of each other. Correct? Go to, any group, any this and that, like attracts like, just like the birds flock together, same thing with human beings, right? Human beings, they flock together, and that's usually who you'll marry. You'll get in proximity with somebody who is very similar to you. Marriage happens, half demon marries half demon, and you got issues. So better to be angel, inshallah ta'ala, to find an angel. And the number 1 myth that men have with regards to marriage is that life will be perfect. And the answer is that perfection is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So a person goes through stages of test. Right? Stages of test, and the dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches us to say, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. That Allah give us goodness in this life and goodness in the hereafter, and protect us from hellfire. Should I go about the myths that women have? I might go through it, but without comment. You'll get mad at me, and I know I'll say something wrong. 5 myths that women have about marriage. Number 5, that it's all about love and nothing else matters. Only love will save the day. That kind of stuff. No, Love is soon forgotten when your husband gets hungry. It's all about love. I don't have to make dinner for you. Number 4, that marriage equals happily ever after. Right? And which is not true. No, you have to work. If you purchase some new shoes, you gotta work it in, you'll in the beginning get blisters until, the shoe fits. Right? And same thing in marriage. It's not just going to be, you got married happily ever after. Sometimes, you figure this out. As soon as you get married, you're like, look, you're going to have to live with this person. You're going to have to build up. It might take years before you actually get into that zone. But then you become like partners, inshallah. Number 3, that men like submissive yet dear wives. And sisters are always saying that, man just wants a maid, and this and that, robots do this and that, and they just want a submissive wife. That's actually a myth, because if the woman was like that, I've seen men that that have married maybe women that are at home and they're this and that, but they're still saying, I wish my wife had goals, I wish she had some drive, I wish she had this and that. So at the same time, they do want a woman that takes initiative, and at the same time, occasionally points out. Makes sense. Myth number 2. That a man shouldn't care about having a clean house, iron clothes, and yummy food. I'll just leave that myth as it is. The number one thing is that a man shouldn't care about looks. That it's all about deen. Hence the same myth with the women. Right? And I actually think there's an interesting stereotype that happens right here, and that is that if a woman is attractive, therefore she has no deen. And a man made a mistake and stuff like that. Even ask that question. What if someone marries, because people just have this assumption that if somebody is, is attractive according to the standard out there, that she must not have deen as a person made a mistake. Anyhow, get that. Moving along, the 4 qualities of the men. 4 qualities of the men. This is your magic form. You get these, inshallah ta'ala, you're married the next day. In fact, we have some sisters here just, they're on standby. Number 1. Okay. This comes from the verse where Musa alayhi salam was, he helped those women. So Musa is strong, takes initiative, takes drive, helps them get water from the well once he's in Midian. And then the girl goes home to her father, tells her that there was a man that helped us. So he sends one of his daughters to go and bring him. So Musa comes and then, explains the story and stuff like that. Then the girl says to her father, يا أبت استأجره إن خير من استأجرت القوي الأمين. She said, O my father, hire him. For verily the best person that you can hire is these are the 2 qualities. Al-Qawi, Al-Amin. Someone who is strong and someone who is, interesting, that was the nickname of the Prophet Al-Amin, is trustworthy. And that's one of the things, people forget that there's another hadith that I'll bring the other 2 qualities, and that is, the Prophet said, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. Right? Which is, and this one gets quoted a lot, this hadith, if a man comes to you whom you like, or you're well pleased with their deen and their good character, then marry them. Okay? So put these 4 together. Quwwa and amana. Qawi, someone who is strong. Basically, let's look at the job market. If somebody lost their job and you guys are studying to get a job, you first need to know the information, right? That's where quwwa comes from. It's strength. Hence, you're not going to be a doctor and you haven't even studied medicine. You're not going to be an engineer, you haven't gone to engineering school. Or so you need the knowledge. Yet, if somebody is hired, say, as an engineer, then they go to work and they just check their email all day long. And they're first 2 hours of the day, they're just checking email. And the last 3 hours of the day, they're just checking their email, and they're just surfing back and forth, back and forth. They're getting very little done. And then they get fired. I'm thinking that now, let's put yourself in the position of the employer. Would an employer ever fire someone who's making money for the company? This person, basically that position